What is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993. We're back here for another baseball news video, but I'm going to try to do something a little bit different because of the fact that I'm just swamped in life right now. Again, I definitely enjoy having more of these baseball videos where I give my thoughts on these like signings and trades and retirements. Like, it's definitely boosted my energy for baseball again. That's was lost for a couple of years. But definitely I've shown that some of these, in fact, can, in fact, be, a little time consuming. So, with me being super behind on my content and, just trying to get caught up tonight, I decided that there was several, I think it was like 13 or 15 videos I wanted to do for baseball I still got to catch up on. I decided that there's like some of them are like smaller ones that I have not as much to talk about. Some of them I think is best I just combine them into one video, just so I don't have to keep switching back and forth and this and that. So to make things easier, I'm going to do this from now on when I get a lot of smaller content I'm not able to catch up on at once. But because of that, I just want to just catch up and just tone down a bit and just briefly talk about these. So we're gonna get rolling here. I have about 10 signings that I do want to briefly address, of course, in this video. So we'll just get rolling. Starting off with back on January 9th, Wade Miley, who just spent the past season with the Milwaukee Brewers, signed a one-year deal, $4.5 million with the Milwaukee Brewers. He will make $3.5 million and is guaranteed a $1 million buyout on a $10 million mutual option for the 2024 campaign. Of course, it's going to contain some bonuses based off how many innings he pitches and this and that and all that stuff. Miley, who's now 36 years old, is in his third National League Central team as of many seasons, as he spent 2 years with the Reds and just this past year, of course, with the Cubs. He has spent 2 years with the Reds with a 3.37 ERA and 28 starts in the latter campaigns of that series. And then of course he then was claimed by the Cubs after that, and wasn't really one of his strongest seasons with the Cubs. He still pitched a 3.16 ERA through 37 innings, but he only averaged an 85.1 mile an hour cutter as well. So the hopes is of this experienced lefty to bring some restraint back, but be more like a middle to the bottom of the order rotation arm for the Brewers, who still have Cy Young candidates Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, and also have experiences such as in Freddie Peralta, Aaron Ashby, Eric Lauer, and Eric Hauser as well. So, of course, that does definitely, give some depth to the Brewers in that rotation, who, again, will have an interesting year. Again, I don't know, I still keep saying this in videos, but with how the Cubs have been this offseason, which we'll get to another Cubs signing in this video as well, I know the Brewers have made some trades and brought some flexibility to their payroll, of course, recently as well. So I still feel the Brewers will still be kind of like a number 2 or number 3 ranked team in the National League Central. So, I mean, hopefully this may help them, because I do see the Cubs not being, a complete contender, but maybe, making some noise this year and finishing second or third and hovering around a winning season. I see the Brewers doing the same thing here. So maybe a bounce back year from Wade Miley could, help that for sure in their starting rotation for sure. But that is one of the acquisitions that I did want to talk about. The second one was recently also, the Cincinnati Reds have announced that designated for assignment that they released infielder Mike Moustakas just recently as well, as he had 1 year and $22 million remaining on his 4-year contract he had signed with the Cincinnati Reds. And unfortunately, again, it has not been the same for Mike Moustakas with the Reds. He signed a 4-year deal, $64 million deal going into the shortened 2020 season. And of course, his first season went fine when he hit 230, but then in 2021 and 2022, he combined for he had played just 62 games in 2021 and 78 in 2022, hitting just 211, unfortunately, as injuries have really caught up to Moose the last few years of his career. He had, I know with the Royals, of course, it was some of his best years. He did have a little bit of life, showing in him with the Brewers, as he did move between third base and second base with the Brewers, still being a quality bat, but the injuries got him here and there. So probably, with, his tight salary, and his injuries, and the Reds having, several, upcoming infielders such as, of course, Jonathan India, Spencer Steer, Tyler Stevenson as well. So they do have a bunch of younger players that they might have been ready just to move on from. And just unfortunately with his injuries, Moustakas has not been quite a reliable option. He's only 34 though, so maybe he could land somewhere else. But it could be more so of like a utility infield role, or just more so of like a DH role or whatnot because of his injuries. So that's a shame, of course, because I've always been a big fan of Moose. But again, of course, when the Reds were getting ready to, be kind of like a contender a couple seasons ago, and it didn't quite go that way. Well, 2021, I think, was they came close. But of course, this past year or whatnot, they just fell back down the pipes again, and they're now, scramble a little bit. So that's a shame there too, though. But the Reds released Mike Moustakas, and as of now, he still remains a free agent. We'll see, of course, if anybody else decides to pick up the experienced All-Star. The Miami Marlins. I have not heard about this man for a while, but Johnny Cueto, who apparently was just recently with the Chicago White Sox, recently signed a 1-year deal with the Miami Marlins, which is $8.5 million guaranteed for 2023, with a club option for 2024. Of course, again, he could get some bonuses also, based off of, his performance. This will be Cueto's age 37th season. Can't believe he's that old. I still remember when he was the rookie in 2008, and I couldn't pronounce his name, so I always said Johnny Cueto. And of course, there is the famous night in 2013 when he pitched for the Reds against the Pittsburgh Pirates, where he floundered under the Cueto chants there, unfortunately. But again, he was definitely one of the best pitchers in baseball, especially from 2011 to 2015. And then, of course, he was dealt to the Royals in a midseason trade. And, of course, unfortunately, he did kind of go back and forth a little bit. He did, of course, then go sign a 6-year deal with the Giants. Had some good years with them as well. And, of course, towards the end of his Giants career, he started to fade off of a little bit. And then he would go to the White Sox and see more a bit of his old self. He's not as much of a strikeout batter anymore. He still has shown some signs of being at least like a quality, middle starter as well. Still posting an ERA and probably about like the 3.35s, which is what he did in 2022, as he had somewhat of a resurgence of a year with the Chicago Cubs. Not the Chicago White Sox. Of course, he is in a rotation with ace Sandy Alcantara, who just won the Rookie of the Year. Also Trevor Rogers in there, who is also teamed up with his brother Taylor Rogers, I believe it is, or I believe that's the case, yes. And a few other, decent, upstarts that the Marlins have, because let's face it again, the Marlins are always a farm team. Although they have, some life that they've made some acquisitions, but you just never know, of course. So yeah, we'll definitely have to see how that one goes as well. Again, I am interested to see, of course, as well, what happens there with Johnny Cueto with the Marlins. Again, I haven't really heard much about him the past couple years, but apparently he's still solid. But I haven't really followed him much the past couple seasons. But 37 years old, holy smokes. Again, I still remember he was a rookie, but, always definitely will be a tough pitcher in my mind. Former Pirate Corey Seager. Not Corey Seager. Of course, he's never been a Pirate. Corey Dickerson signed a 1-year deal worth $2.25 million with the Washington Nationals back on January the 10th. He could also get another $750,000 via performance incentives, of course, as well. Dickerson, who's now 33, will now join his 8th big league team and his 3rd in the National League East. Having had prior stints, of course, with the Phillies in 2019, the Marlins in 2020-2021, and his 2022 season was spent with the Cardinals, where he hit .267 with 6 homers and 17 doubles in 297 plate appearances. Been somewhat kind of like a platoon or backup outfield player in recent years as well. As, of course, Dickerson, though, is a former All-Star. And also, surprisingly, a former Gold Glover as well with the Pirates. Now, again, that is a shocker because before he came to the Pirates, Corey Dickerson was limited to like DH duties because he was not known for his defense. But he definitely improved a lot with his defense as well. Again, he's moved around a lot, but he's still like, a reliable spark plug to a lineup. So like grabbing like a lower cost player like him with the young rebuilding Washington Nationals, who's unfortunately probably one of the worst teams in the league right now. It could be just like, just like a 1-year deal, grabbing some veteran, leadership to work with the young guys. So, I definitely like the move with the Pirates. So cool. There's that one. Next up is former Giant, longtime San Francisco Giant, Brandon Belt. After 12 seasons, he is signing with the Toronto Blue Jays on a 1-year deal, $9.3 million for the 2023 season. He was a 5th-round pick by the Giants in 2009, and Belt, of course, reached majors 2 seasons later, and again, has definitely been, with the Giants throughout their 3 trips to the World Series. He's had his injuries here and there, but he's definitely was, a reason why the Giants, definitely had a lot of success during that bit of a time. After, of course, some injuries and some, down seasons, he rebounded in 2020 when he hit 309, and I was in the shortened 2020 season, but of course he was somewhat in the MVP ballot. But he continued to rake following season, but then that year quickly interrupted by injury. And then, of course, he continued to lose some playing time as well. Of course, he played in just 97 games, but he did hit a career-best 29 home runs in just 97 games. Unfortunately, again, his left thumb late in the season, and he wasn't able to participate in the Giants' playoff run, of course, as they made the playoffs, that being one of the surprise teams. So, again, injuries have limited Brandon Belt, and again, he is starting to get up there. He's 35 years old now, but again, he has experience. I mean, the Blue Jays have had a very weird offseason. They've traded away some players like Teoscar Hernandez. I know they're probably still trying. It was recently traded Lourdes Gurriel for that one guy, power guy from the Diamondbacks. I can't remember what his name was. So they made some interesting moves. They've signed, some experience. I know, again, we still have, Vlad Jr. in there and, Bo Bichette, some pitching. They got that Eric Swanson and the Teoscar Hernandez deal. So it's been a strange offseason for sure for the Toronto Blue Jays. It feels like they're trying to get some experience, but they're trying to, go a little flexible with the payroll also there too. But, again, Brandon Belt, injuries have piled up on him. When healthy, though, he's still a decent bat. But we'll see how this one works out as well for the Blue Jays. As again, he has the experience for sure. Now here's a big one I want to talk about. Nelson Cruz did in fact sign with a new team on a 1-year deal with the San Diego Padres. It's a $1 million guarantee, and it'll be his 19th season as a veteran. He'll turn 43 years old in July. And, of course, the big thing is he's definitely the next closest person to 500 home runs. Now, I said last year, when he signed with the Washington Nationals, that if he plays 2 more years, has a 25 and 30 homer season, he has a shot for 500. I believed in Nelson Cruz. Unfortunately, again, he just did not perform this well this past season. As he hit, just 234. He had just 10 homers. Now, apparently, though, again, as I said earlier in the offseason, Nelson Cruz underwent eye surgery. He claims he's been dealing with some inflammation blocking his vision. So, and he says he's been infected for about 1.5 years. Which, of course, that 1.5 years goes back to when he was traded to the Tampa Bay Rays and slumped when he was with the Rays in 2021. So, maybe, with, that eye surgery, it could help him. I mean, the Padres, though, have really loaded up their lineup this offseason. They really have. Again, they have a stacked infield now, as they have Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, and that whatever that Kim guy is, who was playing shortstop for most of last year. And they're moving Fernando Tatis Jr. to the outfield. And they still got Juan Soto out there. And of course, they signed Matt Carpenter. I think they have that Grisham guy as well. They have a stacked lineup. So it looks like Nelson Cruz is probably going to be splitting time with Matt Carpenter in the DH role. Of course, Carpenter, though, is still capable of playing a utility role in the outfield for sure. So, but I'll be honest, if I'm being 100% honest, I'm hoping Nelson Cruz does have kind of a bounce back year, maybe hit 25 homers or something if he gets the playing time. But I think his chances of him getting the 500 homers are dead. He could surprise me. Again, remember, earlier this past season, All-Star break, when he wasn't doing too well, I was thinking Albert Pujols wasn't going to make it to 700. Cruz could still possibly make it to 500. I just think, though, he may have hurt his chances, though, with his worst his probably one of the worst seasons of his career. Maybe the worst season of his career this past season with the Nationals. Just 234 with 10 homers. So, we'll see what happens, though. I still got hope for Nelly Cruz, but we'll see. I have my doubts. We'll see if he can get the 500 homers after this upcoming season. The Mariners, we're still, of course, on the shopping for some outfielders, as, of course, they did, of course, have acquire Teoscar Hernandez, and of course they signed Julio Rodriguez to his big extension. But they weren't, even though they were stacked still with a bunch of young outfielders, they did trade away a few, such as, of course, Kyle Lewis was definitely one of them, and Jesse Winker got dealt as well, and they got Colton Wong to get a left-handed second baseman. But they weren't done yet trying to get some veterans in that outfield, as they signed veteran A.J. Pollock to a 1-year deal, $7 million guaranteed, and can earn an additional $3 million, based off of some incentives. Pollock, though, had a little bit disappointing 2022. Yes, he was healthy. He's had a history of injuries. He had 245 over 527 plate appearances, but he still, and of course, he still, is only 35 years old. He has a good history track record. So again, he definitely could, help out in that outfield with, Julio Rodriguez and Teoscar Hernandez. But there's still, a few other guys like Jared Kelenic and Taylor Trammell as well. Could add some depth in there. And maybe be a left-hand platoon option for A.J. Pollock as well there too. Again, he's got experience. The Mariners are in a win-now situation. Yes, they lost out on bringing back Mitch Haniger, which I thought that was a little bit of a blow. But remember, most of the Mariners' success this past season did come without Mitch Haniger. So, again, this could be a good option. Again, he's an all-star. He's experienced. Yes, he's injury-prone. But, again, it still could be an addition to help out with the Mariners this coming season. So that might not be too bad of a deal either. This next one, the Cubs continue to rake and bring in more and more players. And this one is interesting for sure, because I just talked about the Cubs recently, and they have a big prospect in the minors named Matt Mervis. But now, what is it going to be? Because the Cubs just signed Trey Mancini to a 2-year deal. And he could, of course, get some bonuses as well on the deal as well. And again, that's very surprising, because the Cubs had just signed first baseman Eric Hosmer just over a week ago as well. Of course, he can play first base, but he can also play, the corner outfield spots, as the Cubs, again, are in somewhat of a rebuilding stage. But again, they've done a lot of acquisitions this offseason, signing a lot of veterans. And again, the other thing too is, again, they have that Matt Mervis that's apparently a big slugger for first base coming up in the minors as well. So this one definitely did surprise me. But of course, we all know Trey Mancini's story. Longtime Oriole, very valuable hitter for their team. Missed the 2020 season. He suffered from colon cancer, survived it, came back, was the runner-up in the 2021 Home Run Derby, was part of the Orioles' surprising season until he got traded to the Houston Astros at the trade deadline and was able to become a benefiting part in leading the Houston Astros to win the World Series. Honestly, one of the few reasons why I was happy for the Astros win the World Series is because of Trey Mancini, of course, as well. But yeah, again, so the Cubs, again, have picked up now Trey Mancini, Eric Hosmer, Dansby Swanson, Jameson Taillon, and don't forget as well, Cody Bellinger, too. So, yeah, I keep saying, don't sleep on the Cubs. They've grabbed a lot of veterans. I mean, yes, they were in somewhat of a rebuilding mode the past couple years after trading all their big names in 2021. But, they're also grabbing some quality veterans, too. Like I said, I think the Cubs can make a case for second place this year. I really do, in the National League Central. I really do. Will they contend? I don't know. Again, the Brewers, they're still hanging around, but they're kind of grabbing quality players while also trying to increase flexibility in their payroll. So, this is another one not to sleep on either. Number 9 is a retirement. 9 topics. Oops, I accidentally X'd out of it. Travis Shaw announced his retirement after just an 8-year career, which I was surprised he only played 8 years in his season, in his career. He was selected in the 9th round by the Boston Red Sox in 2011 out of Kent State. And then, of course, he was a top prospect. And then he hit well into minors, age 25, and then he hit a ground running 65 games as a rookie, hitting 270, showing some raw power with 13 homers. Of course, he got a little bit of more time after Red Sox signed Pablo Sandoval, but then Sandoval flubbed because of his production and his injuries as well, so he got more playing time. He did, of course, didn't quite, maintain his rookie form, though, hitting just 242. So he got dealt to the Milwaukee Brewers for Tyler Thornburg. And then, of course, after that, though, he became a very favorable hitter, topping over 30 homers in each of his first 2 seasons with the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes, the average was about 258, but, he still had the power. Of course, after that, though, that's when the Brewers made some trade deadline acquisitions, and there were some injuries involved, and basically the infield became crowded. That's when Moustakas was there, Eric Thames was there, Orlando Arcia, and a few others. So, even though, of course, Travis Shaw was doing well, he kind of got bumped out of the mix there. And then, of course, he then started to fall off. And then he eventually did go to the Blue Jays in 2020. And then he returned to the Brewers for a start of 2021. And after struggling in his second stint with the Brewers, he landed back with the Red Sox on waivers, found a brief glimpse in the form of 28 games, and then signed to a minor league deal and played just 7 games early last season before he got placed on waivers, and then hit free agency back in May and never got another opportunity again. He played in 733 major league games and hit just 237, but still 114 homers, earned 27 doubles, and drove in 366 runs. Again, his 2 best seasons were definitely with those 2 seasons with the Brewers when he hit 30 homers. So, I mean, yes, short career. Didn't realize it was that short, though, because I felt like he's been around for much longer, but a definitely reliable raw power bat, and, definitely wish him the best in his retirement for sure. As he definitely at one point was a quality player for a ball club, especially, of course, with the Brewers. But I wish Travis Shaw the best in his retirement. And then finally, the most recent news is the Red Sox signed Adam Duvall to a 1-year deal, $7 million that could reach the $10 million with performance bonuses. Duvall, who's now 34 years old, has bounced around with the Giants, Reds, Marlins, and of course Braves as well. And of course, the highlights though of his career was from 2016 when he earned an All-Star selection with the Reds, hitting 33 homers in 150 games. and then he had kind of like a near, well, the average was down, but then his next best year was in 2021 when he earned a Gold Glove award. But he split the year with the Marlins and the Braves. But then, of course, he got hot when he came over to the Braves and helped them to get to the 2021 World Series victory. And then he led the National League in RBIs, 113, and he also hit a career best 38 home runs. Of course, he wasn't quite as productive. Had some injuries in 2020. In 2022, which of course made him a free agent, and of course signed by the semi-rebuilding Boston Red Sox, again, who are going to be competing in a very tough National League, American League East. That's right, yes. Because, of course, it's been a rough offseason for the Red Sox, but, of course, they have, done some good things. They, of course, recently did sign Rafael Devers to a long-term extension. They grabbed Kenley Jansen for their bullpen, Justin Turner, Corey Kluber as well. So again, they did. Of course, they are interested in some utility infielders that are still remain on the market, such as Josh Harrison and Jurickson Profar as well. As it does sound like also that because Bogaerts has moved on to the Padres, they're probably going to be moving Trevor Story, who played this past season at second base, back to shortstop as he looks for a bounce back season. And Duvall probably will fill in the void in the outfield probably for JD Martinez, who has since moved on to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And guys, that was just 10 signings that I just wanted to kind of recap in one video. I kind of flew through them, but like I said, it's probably the best for me to do to try to get caught up with my other content right now on this channel. Again, there's a couple other signings or other baseball topics that I do want to talk about, but I'm going to leave those for separate videos. Like if there's some that I feel like is that big of a deal and I'm too bloated right now, then I'll still keep some stuff for separate topic videos. But if I get too busy, these smaller signings, I'm just going to leave just for one big video like this. So guys, what are your guys' thoughts on all these signings and anything else that I talked about for Major League Baseball? Make sure you guys leave thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at the Club of the Man 93. And be sure as always to shout for Meatball Sub. And follow me on TikTok at the Club of the Man 1993. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all soon. Please stay tuned as always, guys, for some more baseball news. Have a great rest of your night. And peace out, everybody.